Hello, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, the founder of Antarctic Press, a small comic book publishing company founded in 1985, creator of comics such as Ninja High School, Warrior Nun, Mighty Tiny, Marvel Mangaverse, Tomorrow Girl, Penguina, and a host of other comic books. So, some people have asked or have said that comic books prices are way too high. You know, right now the average comic price is between $3.99 and $4.99. Well, relatively speaking, there's a couple of factors that go into making a comic book that affect the price. Well, comic books are kind of unusual because there's really no set standard as far as pricing is concerned. A comic book publisher can pretty much price his comic any price he wants. It's just whether or not the consumer feels like it's worth the price he's paying. But overall, the factors that go into making a comic book are varied and can fluctuate depending on the situation. The first thing is paper. Comics is a physical media. We print comics on paper, which is a thing that's you have to go out and get, which means cutting down trees, pulping them, making them into paper. Now, over the last 40, 50 years, paper prices have fluctuated quite a bit. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Overall, the average price increase of the paper have gone up about 6% a year, 5 to 6% a year, more or less. So it is increasing as far as costs are concerned. Now, paper overall, the demand has gone down. But still, the paper prices have still remained relatively high for the most part. So that's one factor that does affect the cost of the comic book. Another cost is cost of labor. Now, printers will not print your comic for free. And that's pretty much a fixed cost for a lot of publishers. They really can't deviate too much from that because it's pretty much something that can't really be negotiated. I mean, it can be, I suppose. If you talk to a printer, they can talk to you personally, depending on the volume, and how much you're actually going to print. There's a lot of companies, publishers out there who have deals with their printer that they'll guarantee X number of work to keep them busy, so they'll maybe give them a discount or lower the price. But the cost of labor in printers has gone up as well and gone up dramatically. So that affects the overall bottom line of a comic book publisher as well. Now, the good thing is that technology has improved, so the cost of doing printing is no longer as prohibitive overall as it was back in the day. Because when we started off in 1985, you had to pay quite a bit of a setup cost, and the minimum at then was 3,000 copies. We had to print at least 3,000 copies for the printer to even consider doing your comic book. Now, fortunately, back then, the market was very healthy, and it was not really a problem to meet that 3,000 copy threshold. Today, it's a little bit more of a problem since the sales of comics have dropped quite precipitously over the last 40 years now. The health of the comic industry is not great, I'll tell you. I mean, it's not, I don't subscribe to the doom and gloom that everyone seems to be espousing these days about the comic industry. I think it's still relatively healthy, at least as far as individual independent comic sales are concerned. It seems that a lot of independent creators are doing just fine with the sales of their comic book, and as long as that occurs, there will always be a comic book industry. It's sales of the big two that seem to be in flux. But at the same time, manga sales are very healthy. So the demand for comics is still there. It's just about the content. People want good content. They won't spend their hard-earned money not to be entertained by what they're buying. So another cost factor in the comics is the cost of making the comic. The cost of the actual paying of artists and writers and creators who are actually producing the comic. Now, you would think that would be the most expensive factor in creating a comic book. Well, it is more or less. It just depends on several things. Like, A, is the creator also the writer and the artist? Now, if the creator is the writer and the artist, he can save significantly amount of money by making the material himself. He doesn't have to go out of pocket to produce the product. He can pay himself based on the sales of his comic and keep 100% of the proceeds after the cost of production is taken care of. And shipping, which is another factor. Shipping has probably been the biggest factor in comic books. The fact of the matter is the cost of gas and oil has gone up dramatically over the last 30 or 40 years, and that has affected the cost of getting comics to stores and to the individual readers. Because when the cost of shipping has gone up, it has to be passed on to the consumer. Now, that's the one thing that we really, comic book publishers and creators, have no control over, because they can't negotiate with shipping companies they can if they ship enough volume. Like, I understand that you can negotiate with the post office or UPS or any other shipping company if you do enough volume. And some companies can do enough volume where they can dictate the amount of money that they pay them. Or you can just do what Amazon does and just create their own shipping company. That's something that is also a possibility. But unless you have that kind of money, it's not really an option as far as that's concerned. But it is a factor in the cost of doing comics. So there are a lot of intricate little factors that go into the cost of comic books. Now, I think comics are still a good value for what you're paying for. The thing about comics is that you are getting something physical. Something you can own. It's the same thing with a movie when you buy a DVD, or some sort of physical media. You own it, and that's the big advantage that comics have over something digital or streaming. Because when you're in the digital realm, it's all, ones and zeros. You don't really own it per se. At any time, they can be taken down and away from you. Once you buy a comic, you will own it forever. It's yours forever. You can pass it on to your heirs. You can resell it. You can't resell, something that you bought on digitally. I mean, I guess you could, but people haven't quite figured that out yet. But I'm sure someday somebody will figure it out. Something similar to NFTs. But even that, NFTs are very controversial, as many of you can probably attest to. Can you imagine comic books all being NFTs? It just would be a nightmare, I think, overall. So, to me, the problem lies in content. I'm seeing a lot of parallels between what's happening in the movie industry and what's happening in comics. Look at theaters as comic book stores. Right now, they're going through a massive shrinking of their business, same as comic book stores. Why is that? It seems relatively healthy outside. People still streaming is doing great. People are watching movies, watching TV shows, and then look at comic books. Indie comics are doing great, at least for the most part, relatively speaking. They're finding individual creators having success with their individual creations. So, I'm seeing what's the one factor that links the two together, comic book stores and theaters, is content. It's all about the content. It's always been about the content. Content. The thing is we are an entertainment, industry. And what does that mean? It means we have to entertain. And people don't like what they see. They're not going to support that entertainment. They're going to walk away from it. And that's the thing that is, that's the thing that's the key factor. Now, if your entertainment was free, that'd be entirely another thing. There, back in the day when we still had, paper newspapers, there was a section in the paper that was a comic section in which you could read comics for free. Oh, now it wasn't free, per se, but it was part of your paper when you read it. You got to read a lot of the comics that they paid for, so you could read, as incentive for you to pick up their paper. And the hope is that you like the comic strip enough that you'll buy a collection of it. And that's where the big money was made. You buy the trade paperback collection. Same with movies. You paid to go see a movie, but you don't walk out owning it. You paid it. You got entertained for the whatever the time was. Hopefully, you walked out and were satisfied with what you spent to be entertained. Same with any other entertainment, like plays, music, things like that. So it just comes down to the content. If people like your content, they'll support it. And that's I think the biggest factor in what's going on in the entertainment industry. We have to, as creators, make content that people will want to buy. If people don't like your content or don't know about it or feel like it's not what its intended audience is, then they're not going to really support it. And thus you're going to lose money. That's really what it comes down to. So I hope I answered your question about why comic book prices are the way they are. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's really boils down to its bare essentials. If there was a way to print comics cheaply, with some sort of substitute for paper, that was cheaper than paper, or if there was a way to do sheet-fed pulp, then maybe perhaps the price of comics will be able to come down. I doubt it, because we have to keep up with the rate of inflation, and comic book creators have to eat too, so they have to be able to pay their bills, and unfortunately, the thing about the comic books is that our reach is no longer as long as it used to be, which is an entirely another subject altogether, which I may cover on future talks such as these. But for now, I just wanted to see if I can't clarify the reason why comic book prices are the way they are. So, please do as you will and harm no one, and have a great day. Until next time, this is Ben Dunn signing off.